"Get out because I'm moving in with my family," Jeff declared loudly, pointing at us as his parents directed the movers. His face twisted into a malicious grin, and I couldn't hide my disgust. However, Stacy, standing beside me, reacted differently. She turned to Jeff, confused. "Dad, you didn't know?" Jeff's face registered confusion, but Stacy's words seemed to fluster him. Even his parents paused, looking over at us with a mix of curiosity and concern. Nicole, his sister, continued giving instructions to the movers, seemingly uninterested in the unfolding situation. Despite my frustration with Jeff's family, I knew I had to reveal a truth that would change everything. My name is Dean Anderson, a 46-year-old remote worker. I have a husband and a daughter, and we led a typical life, or so I thought. Jeff and I had been together for 3 years before he proposed. At the time, my mother was frequently ill, and I wanted to marry quickly to give her peace of mind. So I accepted his proposal, hoping for a bright future together. After our marriage, I discovered I was pregnant. Jeff was overjoyed, eagerly anticipating the arrival of our child. When our daughter Stacy was born, Jeff was an active and loving father. We lived happily, but there was always an underlying worry: my mother's health. Although her condition improved after Stacy was born, as Stacy grew older and entered middle school, my mother's health began to decline once more. To care for her, I quit my job and switched to remote work. This decision allowed me to be there for my mother during her hospital visits and recoveries. By the time Stacy graduated from middle school, my mother was thrilled every time we visited, and I hoped she would gradually recover. But as my mother's health worsened, Jeff's behavior began to change. At first, Jeff was supportive and helped with my mother's care, but over time, he became irritable and resentful. "You're going to your mother's again. You don't care about me. I'm tired from work, and you always prioritize her over me," he would complain. His complaints grew more nonsensical, and even when Stacy and I tried to comfort him, he rejected our efforts. Worried about both my mother and Jeff, Stacy tried to ease my burden. "Mom, leave Dad to me. You should go to Grandma's sooner," she said with a smile. I often relied on her, trusting that she could handle Jeff. But one day, our lives took an unexpected turn. I received a call from Nicole, my sister-in-law. "You've been neglecting my brother," she accused out of the blue. Her words made me stare at my phone in disbelief. I was confused. Why would Nicole think I was neglecting Jeff? After all, Stacy and I were doing everything we could to keep the household running smoothly. "It's been a while, Nicole. What's going on?" I asked, trying to stay calm. "I haven't been neglecting Jeff." "Don't play dumb," she snapped. "I've heard it from my brother. You've been neglecting the house to care only for your mother. Can you still proudly call yourself a wife?" Her accusation stung. I had been focusing more on my ill mother, but I never thought Jeff would complain to Nicole about it. I managed our home, worked remotely, and cared for my mother while Stacy helped with the chores. Yet, Jeff's complaints had increased, but they were about trivial things, like wanting to eat at expensive restaurants or not liking the smell of the laundry detergent. I wasn't neglecting anything. Just as I was about to explain, Nicole interrupted with something shocking. "Unfortunately, this has reached our parents, too. Someday, our angry mother might come to scold you." Nicole hung up before I could respond, leaving me stunned. I was speechless, until Stacy came home from school and noticed my expression. "Mom, what happened? You look shocked." I regained my composure and told Stacy about the conversation. She was equally surprised, and sighed in disbelief. "Mom, there's something I've been thinking about for a while. Can I talk to you about it?" I nodded, and Stacy shared her concerns. Her words made me feel even more disheartened. During a time when Jeff's complaints were growing and Nicole's calls were becoming more frequent, my in-laws finally took action. One day, after visiting my mother, I returned home to find my mother-in-law cooking in the kitchen. Entering the living room, I was so surprised that I dropped everything. She noticed me and frowned. "Oh, you're back. How's your mother? Well, have a seat." Feeling the tension in the air, I followed her to the living room sofa, where she launched into a lengthy lecture. She scolded me for neglecting my duties as a wife, berating me for making Jeff do the chores. However, I noticed inconsistencies in her accusations and decided to correct her. Mother, there are some misunderstandings. I've never made Jeff do the household chores. In fact, Jeff hardly helps at all. Stacy is the one who helps me. My mother-in-law's face turned red with anger. Do you think that lie will work on me? Are you saying that child is lying to me? What a terrible daughter-in-law. She stormed out, leaving the stove on. I rushed to turn it off, unable to chase after her. That evening, Jeff was in an unusually good mood, almost unnervingly generous. Every time I tried to start a conversation, he cut me off. Stacy and I decided to stay silent, not wanting to upset him. For a few days, Jeff continued to be in high spirits, which allowed me to take care of my mother without feeling uneasy. But soon, the unexpected happened. My mother quietly passed away. Stacy and I, though heartbroken, managed to get through the funeral. We decided to spend some time sorting through her belongings at her house. I wanted Jeff to help, but when I mentioned it, he became irritated, so Stacy and I proceeded alone. The house was filled with memories of my mother, making it difficult to make much progress. Each item we picked up reminded us of her. Eventually, we decided to stay at my mother's house for the night. I informed Jeff, and surprisingly, he was in a good mood. "Take your time and relax since you're already there," he said. However, with Stacy's school and my work, it wasn't that simple. We planned to return home the next day after making some progress. But when we arrived, we were greeted by a large moving truck parked in front of our house. Jeff and my mother-in-law were directing the unloading. "What's going on here?" I ran up with Stacy, trying to stop them. Jeff noticed us, puffing out his chest. "You're back already? It's too late for you to return now." I stood there in shock as our belongings were moved into the house. Jeff crossed his arms, clearly enjoying the moment. "I'm moving in with my family, so you two need to leave." His words hit me like a ton of bricks. How could he do this? But before I could react, Stacy stepped forward, confused. "Dad, you didn't know?" Jeff looked puzzled, and for the first time, his bravado faltered. His parents also stopped and looked at us, but Nicole continued directing the movers as if nothing was wrong. Despite my frustration with Jeff and his family, I knew I had to reveal the truth. "You've forgotten something," I said calmly. "This house is mine." The in-laws looked shocked, and Jeff's face turned pale. Even Nicole stopped what she was doing and confronted me. "What are you talking about? There's no way you could afford to build such a fine house." Now it was my turn to speak with confidence. "Thank you for the compliment. This house was built by my father and was originally my family home." Nicole shook her head in disbelief. "That can't be true. This house looks almost brand new." "Does it?" I replied. "That's because my mom renovated it as a wedding gift to us. Jeff should know about this, but it seems he's forgotten." Jeff, who tended to forget anything that didn't suit him, started to panic as he realized his plan had failed. Stacy then shared something she had learned during the inheritance process. "Grandma left a lot of assets for me and Mom, but it's not money. It's things like land and apartments that can't easily be converted into cash." Jeff's eyes lit up with greed as he turned to his parents. Nicole raised her hand in excitement. "Wait, I had no idea your mother had so much wealth? You never mentioned this when we got married?" Jeff's outburst led his family to start complaining. "Isn't that like marriage fraud? You intentionally kept quiet because you didn't intend to give Jeff any of the property." "What a greedy woman," they accused. My father-in-law, who had been silent until now, finally spoke up. "From the conversation earlier, it sounds like only you two would inherit everything." I nodded. "Yes, the inheritance is divided between Stacy and me. Jeff gets nothing. We found the will while sorting through my mother's belongings." Jeff's family turned red with anger, especially his mother, who was the most furious. "This can't be allowed. We'll get a divorce and I'll make sure to get compensation from you," she screamed. I didn't hesitate. Yes, I agree to the divorce. The moment I agreed, Jeff's mother ran off, presumably to get a divorce form from the city office. I didn't stop her. As she left, Jeff turned to me, grumpily asking, "What are you planning to do now?" "What do you mean? Are you talking about the divorce or where you'll live?" I responded indifferently. "This house is actually already on the market." Jeff looked confused. "What?" "It's true," I continued. "I put the house up for sale recently. I've had enough of this. I've always felt it. Every time you treated me terribly, I wondered why I married you. I put up with it for Stacy's sake, but even Stacy said she couldn't take it anymore." Jeff's face turned pale, and he looked at Stacy, who met his gaze firmly. "Dad, you always complained about being ignored and belittled, but don't you realize you were doing the same to us?" Stacy's words left Jeff speechless. Just as I thought he might silently sign the divorce papers, Nicole blurted out something shocking. "If I knew it would come to this, I wouldn't have bothered with the renovation." Everyone was taken aback by her sudden confession. Jeff and his father seemed unaware of what Nicole had done. "Why would you do something like that without permission?" Jeff's father yelled. "I wanted to live in my ideal home," Nicole explained nonchalantly. "So I thought, why not take over this house and renovate it?" "But if you're selling it, why not renovate it and sell it for more?" Her casual demeanor infuriated everyone. Jeff, unable to tolerate her recklessness any longer, yelled, "You should have told us first." "We were preparing to move. Where were we supposed to live during the renovation?" Nicole was surprised by his outburst, but before she could respond, we saw Jeff's mother returning with the divorce papers. "I got it! The divorce papers! Now sign it right here." Despite being out of breath, she was excited as she handed me the papers. Unaware of the chaos that had unfolded, I took the papers and handed them to Jeff. "You write it. After all the times you've belittled me, you agree to our divorce, right?" "No way!" Jeff refused immediately. He knew about my mother's inheritance and didn't want to lose his chance at the wealth. But I couldn't tolerate Jeff or his family any longer, so I pushed him further. "Changing your tune so suddenly?" I said. "I guess you've been in a good mood lately because you thought you'd take over my house. Too bad. Even without my mother's inheritance, I had no intention of handing over this house. And since it's already planned to be sold, you'll end up homeless." My words struck a nerve. Jeff's face turned red with anger, and he snatched the divorce papers from my hand, beginning to write immediately. "If you insist so much, I'll give you your divorce." I felt a sense of relief as Jeff hastily completed the papers. I worried he might reconsider, but Jeff was simple-minded. Once I received the half-completed papers, I filled in my part to finalize it. I then entrusted the finished papers to Stacy and turned back to Jeff's family. "All that's left is to submit this to the city office, so take all the stuff you brought with you and leave." Jeff's family was in disbelief. "Wait a minute. Are you serious? You said you'd feel relieved if Jeff signed the divorce papers," his mother exclaimed. "That's correct," I replied calmly. "But I never said I'd agree to the move." "What about the renovation?" she asked, still confused. "There is no renovation," I replied. My mother-in-law, unaware of Nicole's actions, grabbed her and demanded an explanation. A big argument erupted between them, while Jeff and his father tried to intervene. Stacy and I attempted to leave quietly, but Jeff and Nicole grabbed at us, determined not to let us escape. Fortunately, the movers, who had been watching the situation with dismay, stepped in to mediate. Amid the chaos, we heard police sirens. Our neighbors, drawn by the noise, had called them. As a police car approached with its red lights flashing, we felt a brief sense of relief. But that relief was short-lived as Jeff's entire family seemed about to attack us. Just in time, the police intervened, stopping the commotion. Another officer escorted us to a police car for our safety. Nicole, mistaking this for an arrest, tried to throw belongings into the house and was naturally stopped by the police. Additional support arrived to quell the disturbance, and as Jeff's family calmed down, The police asked us to accompany them for questioning. Jeff and Nicole, unable to control their anger, were arrested for obstructing official duties and taken away in police cars. Jeff's parents were also questioned at the station. We watched the entire ordeal from the police car, where we gave a brief statement. Eventually, Jeff and I officially divorced. Although Jeff initially resisted, we finalized it smoothly with the help of a lawyer. Soon after, I sold the house, and the money from the sale was secured. Nicole, who had pushed for a renovation, had no say in the matter since the house had already been renovated by my mother. Afterward, my in-laws were not prosecuted, but they could not return to the house I inherited. They had sold their own house, expecting to move into mine, leaving them without a place to live. Due to the commotion, they became outcasts in the community, struggling to find a place to belong. Jeff's life took a downward spiral. The incident became well known at his workplace, leading to a pay cut and eventually his resignation. Now he works day jobs to make compensation payments to me and provide child support for Stacy. Balancing income and expenses is difficult, and he juggles multiple jobs to keep up with the payments. Nicole, after the dust settled, continued working as a beauty consultant as if nothing had happened. However, rumors of the incident reached her customers and upper management, leading to her dismissal. She had lived a flashy lifestyle, so her savings quickly dwindled. Like Jeff, she now works multiple jobs to make ends meet, including compensation payments to me. As for my in-laws, they faced their own troubles after the incident, leading to their divorce. My mother-in-law, ostracized by the neighbors, was fired from her part-time job. My father-in-law, who had planned to enjoy his retirement, now allocates most of his pension to compensation payments to me and is looking for work despite his age. They are each in a difficult situation, but this is their reparation for the pain they caused us. I hope they take this time to reflect on their actions. Meanwhile, Stacy and I have moved to a new house. Even if Jeff's family tries to approach Stacy's school, it's no issue since she has already transferred. I continue my work from home, and I look forward to spending peaceful days ahead with Stacy. The relief of being free from the past troubles brings a smile to my face, and I plan to live happily with Stacy, just the two of us,